Welcome, Gabriella. I hope you're very, very well, and I hope you're smiling away there in sunny Paris. Let's get straight to it. AI is very important to UNESCO. Could you tell us why?
Well, I think that we are like any other institution and citizen around the world, every individual. Artificial intelligence and the capacities of these computers, along with cloud computing and data sets, and to produce analysis, conclusions, recommendations, is just mind-boggling. Is one of those technological waves that is not only pervasive, but is very fast. And we have seen that the kind of services that AI delivers grows exponentially. Now we are with the generative AI, meaning they can generate any kind of text, any kind of language that they would be interested in. But at the end, it's really changing the way the world works. And therefore, for us, the artificial intelligence is not a technological debate, it's a societal debate, because it's we need to ask ourselves, is this new world that is being built by artificial intelligence is going to be more inclusive than the one that we have in nowadays? Is it going to be safer? Is it going to be fairer? Is it going to be sustainable? And many of these questions are unanswered because many of the technological decisions that we are taking now are taking on a commercial or geopolitical basis and not on an ethical basis, which is what UNESCO is pursuing.
Are you feeling that this is more of a threat or more of an opportunity?
Well, it depends on what we do about it. If we leave the technologies unchecked, if we release major developments like ChatGPT without doing an ethical assessment ex ante, if we do not direct the technologies to address the problems that we face in terms of climate, in terms of empowering people, closing gender gaps, then it will be a threat. If we just stay idle when we see how much these technologies, when they are being misused in terms of targeting groups, profiling people, flooding misinformation, or discriminating. Sometimes we use these technologies to decide who gets a job interview or who gets a loan, and sometimes we're just reproducing inequalities. Then there will be more harm. But because in UNESCO, we, as was mentioned, 193 countries signed to have an ethical deployment of artificial intelligence, meaning taking into account the promotion and protection of human rights and human dignity, environmental sustainability, fairness, inclusion, the rule of law. We are convinced that it is up on us to define the framework in which these technologies will deliver for good. And this is exactly what we're doing at UNESCO. We are now implementing the recommendation in 40 countries, and there will be more. We have a readiness assessment tool where we are looking at how much governments have the capacity to handle these technologies and to direct the technologies to deliver on the positive results that they can provide us. These technologies are amazing. I mean, the problem is that when you have so many doubts of how much they are going to affect learning processes like ChatGPT, how reliable they are, how safe, how transparent, how accountable, and when you don't have answers to those questions, then people get a lot of mistrust instead of being really impressed by the capacity of these technologies to deliver for good in terms of medical treatments, in terms of managing food systems, in terms of helping us manage environmental issues. But the regulatory framework needs to be there, and self-regulation is not enough. And that's why this global standard, we really want members to develop their rules, institutions, and capacities to deal with this, with AI.
Just moving aside a little bit, World Creativity and Innovation Day, that's today. That's obviously very important to UNESCO. What are you doing? How is that working for you?
In terms of creativity, well, we are really pushing to first inform the fact that these technologies are highly concentrated. It's the US and China who produce 80% of the technologies. We are doing the analysis so that we can inform the public on the fact that 85% of all these technologies are being developed by male-only teams, and usually male of the North. And therefore, what is happening is that it's pretty simple. The technologies are based on a set of data and algorithms that train that data into recognizing patterns and producing analysis. It's as simple as that. If you are highly concentrated in the upstream, in the way we develop the technologies, then the downstream will also be discriminatory. And that's why you see that facial recognition technologies are having more trouble to recognize women or people of a dark color of skin. We know that half of the world population is not connected. So for all the hype that we have and the magnificent services that they can provide, it's really not for everybody. And therefore, it's very important that we recognize that, because what is happening is that we are losing a lot of the diversity of the world, a lot of the creativity of the world, if languages are not represented, if mindsets, if histories of different countries are not represented in the data sets or in the way we develop the technologies. We are going to have a world that is less diverse, less rich, and we are making a great effort to ensure that it's not only the global south that is consuming these technologies, but that we also are well equipped to develop their own technologies.
Yeah. For those building artificial intelligence at the moment, what is the most important consideration that should be taken into account?
Well, I think that the ethical framing that we are proposing at UNESCO is not only important, is essential. It's essential because, as I said, we are having a technological debate. We are here witnessing the launching of these impressive large language models, the ChatGPT, the BERT, all these tools. And the fact is that we should ask ourselves, why did we release these tools? Is it because they are going to be helping us address the challenges, or is it because there was a commercial purpose behind, or the need to be at the leading front of the technological debate? I think that we need to get the conversation right and put human at the center. And putting human at the center means that before releasing these AI major developments, we need to do an ethical assessment, ex ante, always ex ante, because it's the only way that we will at least understand better. When these generative AI packages were developed, then we started asking ourselves, is it reliable? Is it based on good information? Is it delivering good service? And then we said, well, not always, because sometimes they are sexist, because they are incomplete, because they don't quote the sources in which these programs are trained. And therefore, I feel it's very important that we fix those issues before advancing more developments.
There's certainly a big moral responsibility here. Elon Musk talks about AI being more dangerous than nuclear weapons. That's a big statement. It's quite a scary statement for a lot of people. What's the threat? Where do you see that threat coming?
The threat is coming from unregulated technologies. The threat is coming from governments that doesn't have the capacities to deal with them in terms of regulating them while allowing innovation to flourish. The threat is coming of not having the institutions that can look for the transparency, the accountability. The threat is coming, if something goes wrong, not having the rule of law to protect those that are being harmed and receiving compensation. So it's not about, maybe the analogy of a nuclear technology is a good one, because nuclear technologies are very sensitive technologies, and therefore they need to be super well regulated. Yeah. And when you have these technologies for civic use, I mean, France, 70% of the electricity here in France is produced by nuclear plants, and they are as good because they are well regulated. If they are not, of course, and if they are used for weapons or for other means that are not legitimate, of course they are not good. So the analogy is quite powerful because they convey this image that they could be quite dangerous. But for UNESCO, the call is on governments. The duty of care is on governments to have the capacities and the legal frameworks that will allow the technology to continue flourishing, but directing where it goes to address the problems that we're facing and help us
Do you
not
feel
to
the
create more
statement?
problems.
The statement itself is quite provoking. It's it can spread panic, and it makes a lot of people who don't understand AI particularly very, very nervous. Just the statement from somebody so important.
Well, you know what happens? The problem is that the nuclear power is also full of very daunting stories of accidents that are, when they're mismanaged, they can cause havoc. And probably it's a little bit too much to make that comparison. But at the end, the analogy can be allowed, because at the end, it's what we do with those technologies that matter.
Yeah.
They exist. They are there.
Yeah.
How do we frame them to help us build more inclusive and fair world?
Yeah. It's a great answer. Here's a big one. What role will AI play in humanity's survival? Just a simple question as we get towards the end.
Well, it's like any other technology. If you build the incentives for the best use and deployment of these technologies to be maximized, they can be fantastic. They can help us optimize food systems and reduce waste. They can help us bring education to so many places that don't have it. They can help us also manage much better many of the health education systems, the massive complex systems that we need to manage will be much better done if we are supported by artificial intelligence. But at the end, we also need to build the capabilities, and we need to be very well equipped. And the question is not whether we like AI or not, is how do we handle it, how do we frame it, and how do we use it? That will make the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. For those interested in the role AI can play in humanity's survival, how can they? What can they do to promote and support the process? How can they? How can they help? How can we all help in this game?
Well, I think it's very important that you help us make more visible the fact that we have 193 countries that agree with the recommendation, that are searching for different ways of managing the data and make it more representative, that are trying to build the institutions that will help them to supervise these technologies and to ensure that they are transparent and accountable. That we make sure that half of the world is better connected, and that it's not only a question of those that can be connected or not. The recommendation is producing a whole set of actions. As I said, in Africa, in the Netherlands, we're working with the European Commission, with the Patrick McGovern Foundation, with the Japanese government. In Latin America, we're working with CAF. So it's a fantastic movement to implement the recommendation, which tell us that governments want to really build the ethical framework. So help us promote it, get connected, because the governance of AI is something that we should all care about. And we are launching this process that should integrate the views of everybody, the global north, the global south, the civil society. So connect with UNESCO's recommendation. We will be so happy to have you on board.
Yeah, well, we're running out of time, but are you getting genuine cooperation from all governments? Is this something that's been taken really seriously?
Well, first of all, I was super proud that the governments accepted, for example, not to give legal personality to AI systems, which is very good, because then the people that is developing are the ones that are accountable. They agreed to take out the question of mass surveillance and social scoring. We are working with neural technologies, neural data, also to avoid manipulation. So it's very, very strong on substance. And I guess that because we are all at awe with this generative AI, more and more countries are calling on us to see how they can manage it better. And this is very authentic. And so I'm very, very proud of so many countries that are now upscaling their efforts to deal better with these technologies.
Well, that's absolutely perfect timing. Thank you very much. It's been an absolute privilege to speak to you.